Coming up right now on Lifestyle Magazine. It used to be restricted to Las Vegas and Atlantic City, but now casinos seem to be popping up everywhere. And with the convenience of the internet, many people make gambling a regular part of their lifestyle. For some, it's a trap that snares them into addiction. You'll meet people who know just how powerful that addiction can be. And now the hosts of Lifestyle Magazine, Mike and Gail Tucker.
Thank you and welcome. Our first guest is Director of Training for the California Council on Compulsive Gambling. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mark Lefkowitz. Thank you for being here, Mark.
Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, you bet. Listen, tell us, what is a problem gambler?
Well, problem gambling could be any kind of problem related to gambling. Somebody doesn't have to be addicted necessarily to have a problem with gambling. Generally, problem gambling are generally people with financial problems due to their gambling. They tend to max out their credit cards, or they start borrowing money because they figured they're going to most gamblers think, and especially problem gamblers think, that if they gamble long enough, they're going to win it all back.
They're going to hit it, yeah.
So sometimes it's financial, but it could also create marital problems. It could also create legal problems or work problems. But generally, these are the people that haven't yet crossed over to the line to what we call compulsive or pathological gambling. Pathological compulsive gambling excuse me, is more like drug or alcohol addiction. Those are the people that sort of have to gamble. Those are the people that don't weigh the consequences out and will keep gambling and gambling.
Regardless of the cost.
Regardless of the cost, generally until all their money is gone.
Does that even mean that they would resort to such things as maybe an alcoholic or a drug addict would, which is stealing from other people, breaking the law in order to support their habit? Yeah,
in the late stages of gambling, of problem or compulsive or pathological gambling, we see a lot of legal issues because gamblers, I tend to like to think they're a little different than the drug addicts or alcoholics because they believe generally most of the crimes are white-collar crimes, either embezzlement or, if something's, crimes of opportunity. If something's hanging out and they could take it and turn it into cash, they'll do it. But they believe that they're going to put the money back when they win. Especially in terms of embezzlement. They figure they'll steal the money on Friday.
Score big, I'll put it back in Monday, no one will ever know.
Nobody, and maybe the first 2 times they get away with it. But then eventually they can't get away with it and they keep losing more and more, embezzle more and more, and we see a lot of people in prison because of their gambling.
So a problem gambler, you wouldn't necessarily say had an addiction, but when it gets to the compulsive point, then that is an addiction.
Right, that's sort
How
of
would someone recognize that in themselves?
That's sort of what we call crossing the line. That's sort of, in terms of problems, they're able to stop, or they might even be able to gamble normally again if they learn the lesson, be able to manage themselves financially. But once they cross that line, they can't stop. And once they start gambling, they almost generally will always all gamble until their last dollar is gone. Even if they're winning, no matter how much they're winning during the night, which is what you would expect when gamblers go to a casino, they go to win. These people that are compulsive, winning means they could just gamble a little bit longer.
So it's all about the gambling, not necessarily about the winning.
It's about the, and a lot of, especially people that are first coming into treatment for gambling, they think it's all about the money. And it's not about the money. It's about just, as long as they're gambling, their life is perfect.
And it could be any kind of gambling? I mean, give me some examples of
what
types
types
of gambling.
It could be slot machines. Poker right now is probably one of the more popular games. Horse racing, sports betting. The lottery. We see people coming in with addictions to lottery. Bingo. Bingo is very big, especially in some of the casinos here in the state of California.
Why is this so big among seniors right now?
Well, for seniors find, number one is almost every senior center has a bus taking them at least once a week to the casino, so they have the access to the casinos. Also, casinos are probably the safest place in the world for a senior. The security is fantastic, air conditioned, so especially during the summer, those people out in the desert, that might not have air conditioning, they're in a cool spot. They might have lost a spouse, they're lonely or bored. Loneliness and boredom are probably some of the key reasons why seniors tend to gamble, and they're made to feel very comfortable at the casinos. It might be the only person during the day that says, "Hi, Mary, how you doing today?" Or the person sitting in the next machine to them. So it sort of gives them a sort of a social.
It's a social outlet.
Yeah.
But why is it dangerous for them? Is it more dangerous for seniors, or does it affect them in a different way?
It's dangerous for seniors more or less is because they can't recoup their, sometimes with a senior, they take all their life savings. And they're not going to be able to work again and put back the money.
That's right.
I've seen a lot of people younger that have developed gambling problems that have been wiped out that are able then to rebuild themselves. But here there's no rebuilding. And again, that generation also, the current senior generation now are not the type that are going to tell people that they have problems.
Right, right. So the internet is playing a bigger part in the gambling. Is this legal? Is it not legal? Can you tell me about that?
The gambling on the internet is illegal with the exception of horse racing.
Okay.
Horse racing is the only legal internet wagering in the United States.
Huh.
So all others are illegal. And some laws that came up in terms of financing the internet. Right now, probably the most popular game on the internet is Texas Hold'em.
Okay.
It started off with sports betting as sort of what a lot of offshore sports betting sort of what built it. But now they say more hands are played on the internet on poker than in all the land casinos for the whole year in just one day.
Well, it's so easy. It's right there in your,
it's easy.
your
Click,
house.
click, you're on and you can play. That's interesting.
Yeah, but they've changed some of the banking laws to make it a little bit more difficult. And we've seen a decline in the internet, in internet gambling over the last maybe 6 months. But we're starting to see maybe some third party. They're trying to figure ways
There's always
around
a way,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
There is help, though. Gamblers Helpline. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, we have a helpline, 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-GAMBLER, and it's a 24-hour day, 365 days a year helpline. It's answered by all master's level or higher people in addiction. It could be answered in any language, and those people are really good at being able to assess whether or not somebody's got a problem, and they will refer them. Almost 98% of all the people that call that number refer to either Gamblers Anonymous or Gam-Anon. Gam-Anon is a program for family members of people with gambling problems.
Hey, I really appreciate this information, and it is obviously a lot more that we could be asking you and a lot more information to share, but we're kind of pressed for time right now, so we're going to move on. Coming up after this break, you're going to hear from a woman whose gambling addiction ruled her life. Could her story be yours? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We learned English.
Your kids can too. Just watch Hello Channel.
Welcome back. Karen is a member of Gamblers Anonymous, and she has agreed to come on our show only if her identity is protected. Karen, welcome to Lifestyle Magazine.
Thank you for having me.
Karen, how did you get started gambling?
I started gambling in the 2nd grade. I classified myself the best card shuffler, and then I would throw baseball cards against garage doors with my friends, and whoever got closest to the garage door got the baseball cards. Very exciting feeling I got from that.
Really? You felt excited to be able to do that? And what was the feeling there?
I can't even describe it. It was just like a euphoria. It was just exciting, especially when I won the cards.
Well, after that, what was the next step in your process for gambling?
Probably the next step was I used to have card games with some of the neighborhood kids, and I would lose my allowance money, and then I started taking pennies, nickels, and dimes from my mom. And when I was in junior high school, I would shoot craps with the boys in the co-ed locker room, and it kind of escalated from there. Got married young, got married in Las Vegas, and spent a lot of time at the slot machines in Las Vegas.
Is that right? So what's the worst that it got for you?
It got to the point where I came home right before Christmas, and I had played cards. I had been playing cards all night. I had 2 children at the time, and when I walked in, my husband said to me, because this had been going on for some time, he said, "I hate to make Christmas miserable for you, me, and the kids, but if you don't get some help, you're not going to be here for Christmas."
Wow.
That had to be a cold awakening for you, right?
It was a real cold awakening. I told him, I said, "I've been telling you to get me help." And he said something real important that I didn't realize till later. He says, "You can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves." And until that morning, knowing that I had to go to I had to find another home, I looked in the phone book and found Gamblers Anonymous, and I gave them a call, and I attended my first meeting.
Is that right?
What was it like to walk into that first meeting?
When I walked in, I was scared. I pictured guys in visors. I didn't know what to picture. I had no idea what it was all about. And I sat down, and they started talking, and they wrote this little book. It's called our combo book. And I started reading it, and I knew they wrote that book for me because I could identify with everything in the book. I finally felt like there was some hope, you know, light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't like myself very well, and I knew that, you know, one day at a time, maybe I could overcome a gambling problem.
Wonderful. You know, at the very lowest part, what were the emotions you felt? Were guilt, shame? What else was a part of that?
I don't know if I felt a lot of guilt and shame in the beginning. I did later on.
Okay.
I just felt I took time away from my family. I took time away from my kids. My son was 13 when I quit gambling, and he was a very slow learner and was getting a D- in school. And in the first 6 months that I didn't gamble, he brought home a 3.5 grade card.
So this had hold of you to the point that it was more important than your family.
Yes.
Was it more important than everything? Was there anything more important at the time?
It got to the point where gambling was the most important thing in my life. I didn't realize that I had a sickness. I explained it to my children when I quit gambling. I said, you know how you get the flu and you get sick and you don't mean to? I said, well, I'm gambling and I don't mean to. I said, so I'm going to get some help for that.
Yeah.
So the process of help that you found at Gamblers Anonymous, what do they do?
Well, we share our stories. We share our experience, strength, and hope. We work by 12 steps of recovery and 12 steps of unity. And it's a whole different life. It's a whole, I'm glad I became a compulsive gambler because I appreciate things. I found a higher power, whom I choose to call God, on this program. I absolutely love the Gamblers Anonymous program.
A lot of people tell me that groups like that can at times become like an extended family. Has that been the case for you?
They're definitely an extended family. They are my family. I mean, I have family, but they're closer to me than my own brothers, my own real brothers.
Right. And so there's a lot of mutual support, a lot of encouragement.
Yes.
Those kinds of things.
Definitely.
Listen, if you had some word to say to someone who's gambling right now, what would you tell them?
Well, if they have a gambling problem and they want to quit gambling, I would tell them that we're here to help. There's meetings everywhere, and we have a national hotline, and it's 888-GA-HELPS. All they have to do is pick it up and press the number. It'll tell you what to do. Press the number, and they can talk to a live person who actually is a compulsive gambler and a member of Gamblers Anonymous, and they'll tell them where to go.
How long has it been since you went to that first meeting?
I haven't placed a bet in 27 years, 5 months, and 16 days,
Yay.
all one day at a time.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
That is quite an accomplishment. Mark, is Karen's story typical?
It is more typical for a male gambler. Gamblers tend to sort of be broken down to either action or escape relief gamblers, where most women that present with gambling problems now that come into treatment are Gamblers Anonymous, what we call escape relief gamblers that gamble more on the slot machines primarily.
Is that right?
But Karen was more of, which is a little unusual, but Karen was more of what we call an action gambler. Playing games against other people, challenging of other people. So she got a different feeling that some of the other gambles that are sort of the escape relief.
So it was more euphoria for her than it was release or relief?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that started from childhood.
Yeah, especially when she talked about flipping the baseball cards, which is another boy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Formed that habit early on.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for your openness and vulnerability here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Coming up, a man who quit work in order to make a living at gambling, right after this short break.
Learn English and have fun on Hello Channel.
Thank you. Thank you. Phil is another member of Gamblers Anonymous. Thanks for being here, Phil, and welcome to Lifestyle Magazine.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Phil, how did you get started gambling?
In retrospect, I can probably track it to about the age of 8 or 9. Gambled with marbles, or then the glass ones we called smokies. Baseball cards. We had gum cards that were war cards. I can remember the Chinese-Japanese wars. And then flipping coins, nickels, dimes, quarters to a line or to the wall. And at age 12, I walked into a pool hall. I was born and raised in Montreal, and pool there was not the same as here. It was a snooker table. A lot tougher than a pool table that you guys have here.
Yeah.
And then it was a bowling alley, and eventually to illegal gambling casinos. They were not legal in Montreal, but at age 18, I became a cab driver, and I could find anything anywhere in the city.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what it feels like to win or to lose, and why does that drive a gambler?
I don't think the winning or the losing was it. I truly believe that for me it was a release of emotions, feelings. I make the analogy to someone that you've seen that you see saying like he or she wants a cigarette real bad. I didn't feel that openly, but deep down it was there. It was the urge to escape. And I found that if I was sitting at a card table playing cards, everything else became oblivious.
So it got you away from anything else that was bothering you in your life.
That's how that's what it became. It became learned behavior over a period of years.
What was the lowest point for you?
Probably when my wife said to me, "You're doing all of the things that you swore you would never do. Don't you think you might need some help?"
Yeah. Now, help me understand this. You actually left your job thinking you can make a living at this?
The last 6 months that I gambled, yes. I worked for a company where I managed the company, and every 6 months I got a bonus. My bonus at the time that I left was $26,000, and I had a few $1,000s in the bank besides that.
Right.
And I said to my wife, I'm not going to have to work again. I can go and sit and play in a card room and sit no longer than 8 hours a day, and it'll be like a regular job. And if I make my day's pay in 4 hours, I'll come home.
And what did she say to that?
She said, I don't believe you can do it, but she says, I can't argue with you. And she was right. I could do that maybe for the first 3 or 4 days, but then the obsession took hold. The euphoria of being there and not having to feel. Actually, I learned only after I came into Gamblers Anonymous that my biggest problem was I had taught myself how not to feel.
Now, I know that you've been getting a lot of help at Gamblers Anonymous. Could you tell us one of the most devastating stories that comes from some of your friends that you've met there?
I heard of a lot of people who were badly, but somebody, in fact, you might have asked me about something about internet gambling the first time we spoke, and that's why this particular woman's story came to my mind, and I asked for her permission to talk about it. She was in her early 60s, had a decent job, was in retirement, and she was home, and all of a sudden she became involved in gambling on the internet. And in a period of 1.5 to 2 years, she went through her complete retirement.
Oh, my.
Which was in excess of $350,000.
Oh, my goodness.
And the only way she got caught was because she was in charge of the money in the family. Her husband was a full-time employee and still is at a major corporation, and she got a hold of his PIN number and started to withdraw something from his 401k. And somebody in his company noticed the second touch and said something to him and said, hey, if you really need some money, why are you taking it out of your 401k?
Yeah.
Why don't you get a loan? And he said, what are you talking about? I haven't taken any money out. And that's when he went home and he confronted her, and everything came out in the open. And the worst part of it all, after having lost all of that money, 1.5 years later, both the state and federal governments came down on them for taxes on all that money.
Oh, yeah.
Something she never bargained for.
That's right. And
Yeah.
they're still feeling it today. And that's been about 3.5 years ago.
So what has Gamblers Anonymous done for you?
Gamblers Anonymous has taught me how to learn to feel all over again, how to express my feelings, and how to accept the most important fact in my life, that any feeling, good, bad, or indifferent, I can let go of and entrust to this power greater than myself that I choose to call God. And He gives me everything that I need and always a little bit extra. Not everything that I want, but always turns out to be, I get everything that I want, but He provides everything that I need and somehow always a little bit extra.
Phil, do you have any advice for anybody who's gambling right now?
Not for the people who are gambling. I can only give some advice to people that call and ask for help. I cannot be concerned for the people who are out there gambling of their own free will, no.
And that is a distinction, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. For me, there is.
So what would you say to someone who calls?
There is a chance for help. I'm a living example.
And we're glad you are, Phil. This is a marvelous story. Mark, again, is his story typical?
Yeah, very much so, Mike.
Well, Phil, we cannot thank you enough for your courage, your bravery in coming here and sharing your story with us. It is my belief that your story is going to help a lot of people, and that your openness and vulnerability will convince someone out there who's got a problem that maybe there is help available for them. And we're going to be right back with a final word right after this.
Come join our classroom.
Say hello.
We're back. We'd like to say a very special thank you to Phil and to Karen for your being here. Phil, one thing I didn't ask you is how long has it been since you've placed a bet?
November 25th, 1981.
Congratulations. We're very, very happy for you. And Karen, again, we thank you for what you have shared with us, and we say congratulations to you for all the years without a bet as well.
Thank you.
And Mark, I want to thank you for being here as well. If anyone watching this program thinks you might have a problem, please call the number, get some help. Our special thanks to you for watching us today. And if you'd like to have more information on this program, check out our website at lifestyle.org. And until next time, take care of yourself. We'll see you soon.